Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Today I'd like to talk with you a little bit about fear and how you overcome fear. Obviously, we've got a whole lot going on in our country right now with political issues and racial tensions and lots of anxiety about COVID, school or no school, or are we going to get furloughed again, or any of that, that kind of stuff. And whew, that's a lot to take in. And even if you're you're functioning pretty well and things aren't getting to you that much, it's this, what I find is this constant low level tension that I have to really work at getting rid of on a regular basis through exercise and good connections with my family and eating healthy and getting decent sleep and getting in faith and prayer. Otherwise it's just going to eat me for lunch. I want to talk with you about how fear works in my experience. As in the 30 years I've been doing this, I've talked to thousands of people in countless hours, and most of the problems that we deal with boil down to fear. And to illustrate, I want to talk to you a little bit about something I used to do back in my 20s when I used to race mountain bikes. And I did cross-country racing, so these were long courses throughout the state of Florida. And there was this one course in Ocala that had this section called the Widowmaker, for good reason. There was this nice single-track section of trail, and you come up to the top of this hill, and there's these two pine trees, and then this drop-off that, you look like this, and it looked like it was straight down. And it was a little bit of a gradual slope, and then it looked almost like it was just a straight drop-off. And it was ultimately, when you first looked at it, it was terrifying. And I can't tell you how many people I saw go up to that section, and they'd start to go down it, and then they would panic, take their feet off the pedals, and slam the brakes on and try and do this kind of like Fred Flintstone sliding down the thing, and they would end up wrecking. And the same thing would happen with people that started to go into it, and then they'd just jam the brakes on. They'd go head over heels on the handlebars. And this is a section of trail that really the only way to safely ride it was to screw up your courage and dive in, because you would dive in, you'd go down, and then it would whoop right back up again right after you hit the bottom of the thing. And it was a real thrill when you got into it. But even after I mastered that section of the trail, every time I hit that first little drop, I got this little thrill in my chest, like woo, because it was a little bit scary. But it's kind of the same thing with whatever it is that you might be facing that you're afraid of. I mean, I'm not talking about spiders and things like that, phobias, but regular fears of relationship issues, fears of accomplishing a certain task or trying something new, even physical fears of, well, I can't do this because that. The question that always comes to mind when I'm talking to my clients is, if you weren't afraid, what would you do? Would you try to open that business? Would you go after that girl or that guy? Would you go after that job? Would you try for that thing that you've always wanted to do? Learn to play a musical instrument, or try an art, or learn a language or something, whatever it is. If you weren't afraid, what would you do? And I think this is a really important question to ask yourself, because I think right now in these times, and this is definitely what I apply to myself, is every bit of news that just keeps popping up. Fear, 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 fear. Be afraid of this. Be afraid of that. This is what's going on with COVID. This is what's not going on. This is a riot here and somebody getting murdered there. I kind of have to boil it down to two things. I can either live or I can be afraid. And choosing to live does not mean that you're not impacted, that you're not dealing with some certain level of fear, but true courage is not the absence of fear. It's moving forward despite being afraid. If people do stuff like crazy, amazing physical feats and things like that, and they say they're not afraid, well, they're probably a little bit crazy. Because I think we all deal with fear. Fear is natural. But there's fear of snakes and falling off a cliff and things like that's normal, I'm going to die kind of fear. And then there's paralyzing fear or anxiety, which stops you in your tracks. It actually prevents action from occurring because you're so busy doing what if and catastrophizing, what if this happens, what if that happens, what if the other happens, that you don't actually take action. So take a look at what's going on with your fear, as I have to do, and I have to differentiate. Is this something that is actually going to harm me, or is this fear, is this a lie coming from the enemy? Are my feelings lying to me to convince me not to do anything at all? which actually can be more destructive than taking action. So hope that this is helpful to you, and just please take a look retrospectively, like I said in my last video, at bad things that have happened in your past and how you've gotten through it and come out stronger, and recognize that all this craziness is going on. We're all going to be okay, and choose courage, choose life, choose to live instead of living in fear. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day.